Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Thursday. It's July the 6th. This will be our chart lesson for today, and this is going to wrap up our week. Seems like a real short week because there were only two trading days in this week. Well, there's actually three, but I don't do the chart lessons on Fridays anymore, and I'm not going to do one this Friday either. Um, so yeah, real short week, just two lessons this week, and today was really it was mostly downhill when you look at the big picture. But if you look at the actual trading hours, we spent really 9 o'clock to afternoon with a bounce here, and so you could almost call today flat. We had a little bit down, a little bit up during regular trading hours, but notice we had a two-tiered channel coming down. We got a break here. This thing went back about 50% of the day, and then we moved down and made right at the close, we made a new low. And that was our target that we were shooting for if you measured your two legs. And lo and behold, that's the exact target we reached right at the close, before the close. So interesting how that works out, but there it is. So I'm going to go through the trades. It's a little later in the afternoon. I meant to do this earlier today, but I've got a lot of other things going on here. And so I'm going to move through the trades pretty quick and wrap this week up, and hopefully we'll be back to more of a normal week next week. But when I came in, we'd been working down. We got a big overshoot here, and so you would expect an overshoot equal on the other side here. So when we got this failed second entry short with this reversal type bar, even though it wasn't quite through the EMA, especially with it confirming that little shorter term trend line coming up, I liked it. You figure we're probably going to get an equal overshoot on this side as we did over here. So we had enough room to scalp out there. And the next high was over here, and you see that's exactly where we got to before it turned down, and you got room to get out. So I like that trade just simply because it's a reversal time. I would have liked it better if it would have pushed through the EMA and pulled back. But if it had of, you wouldn't have had much room left before a measured move, and it would have been a little more questionable trying to enter it. So, you know, especially with it being a confirmation of this shorter term trend line working up here, I think it was worth taking because this was a big sell off and we never really tested that breakout area when we went lower there. Normally we'll come back and test that. So I feel confident that's probably what prices were trying to do here, but they couldn't get back past this resistance, and turns out the trend line's probably up here as well. I originally had it much lower. Um, and you could still almost argue for it to be there. Notice how that works out there. You still get almost equal distance, and you get an equal uh, overshoot on both sides. When you get the break here, it's about equal to the overshoot. So you could have looked at it either way. I ended up moving it out to the edges. Still fits, still works exactly the same, except you don't get a break here. So that would be the only difference. But I think it fits better here. We reversed off that midline here and here. We reversed off these lines here and here, and equal distance down here. I probably don't have that quite back to the right spot, but there it is. It may be a little steeper there. But anyway, it works either way. You pretty much get the same thing, other than you might have had considered a break and two legs to a new low, and that may be why the correction lasted so long. So, but either way, I like this long. And then we're just going sideways here. You get a double test of this level. Really, you could almost say this was a double test of this level, but we didn't have a new high in place yet after the break of this short term, which we did here. Uh, Plus, I want to see it try to go up at least twice and fail before it takes down, heads down. And notice that's really a new swing low there. It's lower than that one, so this is a second entry short too. It's right off where you would expect the trend line to be. Of course, you wouldn't have had that trend line. Well, you could have if you had it here and you moved it up, but you may not have found that trend line yet. So either way, it's still a little failed break higher. It's two legs up to a new high after the break of this short-term channel. Lots of reasons to like that trade. And this takes off. And if you caught this one trade, you could have ridden this I would have at least ridden it probably down to the new low. You might have exited after that, but if you stayed until you got a break of this trend line, you could have ridden it all the way down and got the two legs out of it. So it just depends on how you like to manage your runners. And that's why I don't talk about that much, because that's more of a personal thing. It's more personality driven. Um, I like to get out and find a new entry. I don't like to hang on and watch it bounce back and take my money back. So, um, but anyway, nice short there. If you catch that and ride it all the way down, you're probably done for the day on a trade or two there. We do come back and we confirm the trend line right here. It's not a very good entry because this trend line is not even at a break yet, but it is off the key entry point, EMA, trend line. It's not a very good signal bar, although I like that one, but your setup might have been slightly different. Um, I've got this in Mark Green, but I tell you, I'm not crazy about it. I would have rather waited on the lower high here, but then I don't have a very good signal bar, so you can't even risk that one. So depending on what your chart looked like, it might have looked a little better than mine, but that's what I see so far. So you had to be a little patient this morning. You got a couple of trades right out of the gate, and then it got kind of slow. We finally came back, got a break here, and notice we got a short-term trend line working up. First entry short, it comes back, makes a little double top, gives you a little bearish bar on a second entry short. I like going short there, but it doesn't take off. It just kind of goes sideways. So if you entered there on that second entry and got shaken out of this, hey, when it starts going sideways, if you couldn't scalp out based on where your entry was, which should have been one tick below that bar, I might have exited here. It did kind of break higher there once and then turn back down. But by this time, even though you might look at that as a failed second entry long, I don't think you want to go short way down here out of all that congestion. It would have worked, but I don't recommend it. So I didn't mark any other trades there. And then of course we bounce here. You really got a confirmation of the trend line here. You touched it once, then twice, but that's congestion, so it's probably going to pull back. So just wait and see. You actually get a second entry long here, but it's not back to the trend line, and it's right into this resistance here. So I want to see it come off this key entry point down here, and then it finally does, and you get a nice reversal bar. So I like entering there. Gives you a little more room to get out before that final high there. But it doesn't matter, it just takes off, and of course it turns down right where you would expect off the upper side of the channel, confirms this channel. By this time you know this channel is dead on, really. There's another little pullback here, and you get what looks like a break here, and you get a little trap here. Even though it doesn't make a new low, it's right off that trend line. And let me make this a little bit bigger. Notice how it turns down, it makes that one tick lower and instantly reverses and goes out the other side. I like just having a buy stop right there when it went through, and that would have been a nice easy trade. And then it comes off the upper side, you get a couple of tests. By that time you're going sideways, so you got a little bit of a channel here, congestion area, but you get that failed break higher right there, fairly bearish bar. So I like entering. When it turns and goes back up, that just gives you another chance to enter. It actually went higher and turns and goes out the lower side. If you weren't in yet, you could enter there, and I like adding on there if you were already in. And you expect it to come to here at a minimum. Since you came up a little bit short, you actually touched here, so it didn't matter that you came up short here. But you might expect it to come up a little short here, or maybe even overshoot it. It ends up overshooting it quite a bit, really, and you get your first close outside. That's a convincing close outside, and you get a second entry long here. Notice that new high, pull back first entry, pull back second entry, and that's a nice reversal bar. And I guarantee you, a bunch of people that they're waiting for proof that it's going down. They go short right below that big old bar, and then it reverses. That's where you go long, and when they all have to exit, it runs you up to your quick scalp. And then you get that reversal here. Notice that's a new low. First entry short, second entry short. It pushed right through the EMA. It fails. The only reason I marked this one green, it's right off the key entry point. It's a double test of it. It's a failed second entry short, but it's right back into that resistance. So you got to be a little bit concerned about that, but you could argue for this to be blue. This could go either way. Um, so the main reason I left it green was because it's into that resistance, but it only has to go a tick higher than that little double top to make a new high, and that doesn't really give you room to scalp out of this entry either. So that's another concern. So that's why I made it green. And then now you've got two measured legs up. You got a break here and two measured legs up, a new high. You're a good bit away from the EMA. You could enter here. And you could also consider this a failed break higher. This is actually, I should have my lines on here, but this is actually a trading range. And you had a failed break out of the top side, failed break out of the low side, and then another failed break out of the top side before it headed lower again. But now you're looking for it to go, you got your break and two legs up, and that's two measured legs for the most part. So there's leg one. Let's get it right here. And then there's leg two. And you can see that's, we might have missed it by a tick. A tick would have got you right up here to the trend channel line again. But that's close enough. And you get a fairly bearish bar. So you might want to ride that back at least to the EMA, and you may catch the reversal, which it does, and you can ride this all the way down into the close. You could actually have ridden this all the way into the close. So you don't really get another chance to enter. It doesn't come back to the trend line till here. And it doesn't break higher. If it would have broke higher there, maybe. You get your failed second entry long here, but by that time you're right into these lows again. It's not a very good setup. You might have considered this one right here. So I didn't mark it, but notice the new low, first entry, there's a second entry. But better than that, it tries to go higher once, twice, and then three times. And that's a little bit of a trap and a big bearish reversal bar. So you might have gone short right there. I'm going to leave it green because it's really late in the day, and there's not a lot of room between that double bottom there or even all the way down to here. There's probably enough room down to here, but that late in the day, you got to be careful with a trade like that. So I'm going to leave that one green. But yeah, that's what I saw today. Big picture was a two-tiered channel working down. You get a close outside, a rally back about 50%, and then you move down to a new low, and it reversed. Well, it didn't reverse. It didn't make the low till it closed, but you can see it trying to reverse at this point. And this could be a spiking channel here. Who knows what will happen in the overnight, but it doesn't matter. You see the price action play out. It plays out on this channel. You're moving up, you get your break, two legs to a new high, and it turns down. And you also notice this shorter term one working down. You get a big overshoot, and that leads to a break on the other side, move to a new low, and you get a correction. So, and there's actually two legs down there to a new low. So not a bad trading day. Not a lot of trades today, but they were fairly straightforward, and there was a little bit of movement. A couple of these trades, if you were trading runners, you would have caught a nice runner. So this one trade, if you catch this one trade here, it may be all you need for the day to make a nice profitable day. But anyway, I'm not going to hang around and beat around the bush. Hope you had a good week. Good luck tomorrow, and maybe you'll close out the week with a great trading week. And I know it was a short week, but we'll be back again to do it Monday. So I'm out of here for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.